All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Convery, the podcast where we brew up insightful conversations with fascinating guests from various industries. Today, we're diving into the world of culinary, creative, community, and entrepreneurship with a truly unique duo. These two have taken a leap of faith from the world of corporate America into the vibrant culinary scene in Houston, Texas, and they've built a one-of-a-kind dumpling making experience that you have to hear about. I'm thrilled to introduce Chih Lin and Michael Dorsey, the co-founders of DumplingDudez. Their story is one of passion, risk-taking, and embracing creativity in the most flavorful way. From hosting intimate dumpling making parties with friends to building a thriving business that celebrates the art of dumplings, Chih and Michael are here to share their journey with us today. So let's welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you, Chih and Michael. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you so much for having
Thank you for
us.
having us.
Super excited to have this conversation, and I
Us
just
too.
love to dive into this dumpling thing. I can't wait to get to it. But before we get there, I want to ask maybe some rapid questions just to kind of get it going. So,
All right.
Michael, starting with you, what are your pronouns?
He, him, but open to anything really.
Good. Chih?
Same here. He, him.
Okay. How about superpowers? What do you both think your superpowers are?
I'll let you go first on that one.
Mine is imagination.
Awesome.
Illuminator.
Illuminator. That is an
So
awesome.
I know it's kind of interesting where I like to teach. I have a
Ah,
passion for teaching people, and so I've always been able to take like hard concepts in engineering and things through school and help others to understand them. And so I picked up that skill pretty easy and really found a passion for it. So Illuminator is mine.
I love that. I love that. Okay, this might have a dumpling twist to it, but let's see if there's something else there. But do you have a favorite smell?
Mine's actually coffee. I think
Ah,
it's just I can't really drink coffee anymore because of my heartburn issue, but it's that feeling you get. Like remind myself in a coffee house or my
Mhm.
all perfect environment.
I like that you said it reminds you because those are mine too. Like gardenia is one of them, and then
mm,
cigar smoke. I don't smoke cigars. I don't like them, but I love the smell of that cigar smoke. It reminds me of childhood and things, so that's probably why. Yeah,
interesting combination there.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. I know.
wow. And coffee smell, but don't touch it. That's another thing.
Right, yeah.
That's a tough
It's a
Love
one.
coffee.
plan.
That's the problem. We love coffee.
That's a tough one. If I smelled, I would have to drink it.
Yeah.
It is.
Um, both of you, curious, what's maybe the best compliment you've ever received?
I'll go first. So I post a lot about being who we are, starting the business, and the best compliment has always been when LGBTQ parents reach out to us and they will say, "Thank you for being a role model. Thank you for giving us hope that my kids will be okay one day. They will be acceptable in the future." So that's usually the my favorite compliments are the one from the parents.
Oh, that's amazing. That's awesome.
My favorite or best compliment I think was probably when I started tutoring, especially for engineering school. When students would say, you know, you really helped me to understand that in a way I never thought about thinking, you know, and for me that kind of lit something for me, and so I think that's my best or my favorite. But kind of working through any of those aha moments that you can help people get to are just they're some of the best moments that you can get. So for me, that's
Absolutely.
really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Super special. We all have, whether it's a guilty pleasure or a favorite snack, but what is your favorite snack?
Mine is any kind of fruit with tahini. And tahini is just like a little Mexican spice powder. It's very good. It's good on everything for
It's
me.
like chili and salty. It's really good.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah.
That's a cool combo.
Mine is anything sweet and spicy. I love that combination of like sweet and spicy. So like chips that are sweet and spicy, or dips that are sweet and spicy, anything like that. Yeah.
Wow. Boy, you
Mhm.
two you got the flavor palettes for sure. That's awesome.
We do like to eat a lot of good food.
Me too. It's awesome. That's a great thing. Thinking about your school days, and doesn't matter if it's high school, college, university, whatever you want to refer to, but what was your favorite subject in school?
Mine was physics. It just makes
Physics.
sense. There's an equation for everything, and it's very calculated.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
High school for me was music, And then when I went to college much later, because I went into workforce first, I went to college back when I was 27. It was science and math. So I think they're kind of related too. There's a lot of math in music, a lot of science in music. So it kind
Yeah,
of, there's a lot of flavor there. But yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So thinking back and thinking about our audience, right? A lot of young people listening and trying to figure out what they're going to do next and, maybe taking that first job. But if you think about the very first job that you had, what was it?
Mine was actually in high school. I worked for the department store called Mervyn, California. They no longer exist, but that was my first job in the shoe department.
Oh, that's
Okay.
a smell. The shoe department at Mervin's. That's a smell to remember.
It is. I always remember
All the leather,
it.
right? Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Or when
Yep.
people take their shoes off, that could be another
Right.
smell. Sorry about that.
Yeah. When I was younger, I did babysitting, but my first like gig I had to be at was McDonald's. And it
All
was
right.
right down the school from my high school. And I hated it. I worked there for a month. I couldn't do it. Yeah.
Well, at least you figured out what you didn't want to do.
And I think that's so important. That's so important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, if each of you individually had to describe yourself in one word, what would you pick?
I think mine is creative.
Yeah, definitely.
I have lots of ideas. I have lots of $1,000,000 idea. None of those really make me $1,000,000 yet, but if I get $1 for every $1,000,000 idea, I should have $1,000,000.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Michael, how
Mine
about
would
you?
be extroverted with extra capitalized. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
Hey, that's awesome. Well, thanks for going through the rapid fire. Now let's
That's a lot
jump
of
into
fun.
your whole story because I think you guys have a great thing to tell here. So let's first start about the two of you. Like, how did you first meet? And then from there, how did your relationship evolve in becoming life partners and business partners?
Want me to take this one?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah. So we met it on the dating site a long time ago, 17 years ago.
17 years ago, yeah.
17 years ago. That was when we still used dial up, I guess, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of the houses. And we had a free American Online, $1,000 for free. It was like a while back, like with the beginning of the internet. And then we met online and then we talked for like 6 months and then we met in person for the first time in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, our favorite coffee shop there now, and also when we were in school, we used to study there separately. We never met before, but Mozart's Coffee, and so we had our first meeting there, and it was oh good, this is the guy I've been talking to online for the past 6 months, and so because at that time, I mean, we didn't have apps or anything like that, there was no like he's this far away or whatever, so it was definitely we lived in separate cities, but I really think that us getting to know each other online in the beginning helped us to form a really great foundation for our relationship and helped us to really get connected before we met in person. He moved back to Austin where I was at the time, and we had that date and became fast friends. And 17 years later,
Yeah.
we're in Houston now. So, yeah, that's how it started. Yep.
Congratulations. And I think you're right. Something you said about being best friends first, like it needs to start with some sort of foundation. How did you then, obviously, life continue to happen and then boom, business partners too.
Yeah.
Maybe can you tell us a story about how did it start with DumplingDudez or maybe jump to that and how that became part of your overall business partners together?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Chih has the best story for this because he really was the catalyst that got this going. So I'll let him talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So after we be dating for a while, we moved to Houston for my job, and Mike went ahead and went to school for his chemical engineering degree. Working for a couple of years, became pretty successful in the corporate world. I went from engineering to marketing, became the director of marketing for S&P 500 company. Mike is a senior process engineer right before we quit our job. So we started business on 2019, about a year before we started business. I just got promoted maybe like a year in, and we went on a trip to California. We rent a fabulous beach house, and every morning, like I would take picture with us and like drinking coffee and then say like living our best life, how people do on Instagram. But in reality, I was very unhappy. Like Mike has to work every single day while we're on vacation on the coast. I will bring my coffee, walk over to the beach, and then I'll just cry. I will listen to Dear Evan Hansen, You Will Be Found, and I will just cry.
Mm.
And I feel so ashamed of myself at the time. Like I don't understand why do I look so successful on the outside, but I'm so miserable on the inside. Um, so after that trip, when we got back, I actually asked Mike. I said, asked him if he want to marry me first because we've been dating for like
15.
15, no,
15 at
no,
that point, yeah.
yeah, whatever year at
12.
that point,
12,
maybe 12
yeah,
years
12.
at that point. And then he said yes. So I was like, great, okay, this is a great start to find happiness again. And then I asked the next question to see if it's true love, right? So I say that, you know, that six-figure job, nice corner office and everything, I'm gonna give it all up. I'm just not happy with work. I don't feel like I'm really belong there. And then I want to do something else for my life. I want to find happiness again. And I said, so I want to give all that up. Number one, if you still want to marry me, I know you just say yes. You're more than welcome to say no, or if you want to wait. But if you want to join me, you're more than welcome to join me.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I said, yes, absolutely. Can we start tomorrow?
So we did like a year of financial planning to figure out why, and then decide to DumplingDudez.
The real honesty behind that, though, is all of what he said is almost verbatim truth of what he asked me. And for myself, I felt horrible because I never saw any of that. I mean, I worked so much, and I love engineering. Like I love the critical thinking. I love design work. I love all of that stuff. The problem solving. For myself, it just wasn't a great fit in the community of the company that I was with, you know. And so at that time, I was already kind of looking for a way out. You know, what to do next. I felt bad too, going back to school, getting this degree, you know, just barely paid off all my student loans, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I did feel kind of like, oh, I'm giving up this engineering thing to jump to something else, you know, because this was going to be my third iteration of a career, really. And so when he said that, I was kind of like, I was happy, but also a little bit like, I don't want to give up this degree, you know. And so, but at the end of the day, it was more about us being happy and us building something, and that really, really excited me.
Really, what an inspiring story, with so many insights too. And Chi, thank you for sharing that, you know, personal journey of, you know, your time on the beach and thinking about that, because I think, you know, sometimes people judge a book by its cover and assume everyone's happy and great and everything's going well. And sometimes there's a lot happening behind that smile or that face. And to be able to discover that together is super special, to be there for each other and then to open and get on the same page as a business. I think that's like just so super special. If you were to talk a little bit, so going from the financial planning to DumplingDudez, can you talk a little bit about what is DumplingDudez and, you know, how did it move from the financial planning to actually up and running?
Definitely. I think one of the funny stories too is I was sitting at work one day and I was just doodling, and how we came up with the logo was really in the beginning. And we'll jump back to why dumplings in a moment, but I just love that story. I drew us as dumplings at one point, and I sent him the picture just as a joke, and he was like, "I love it. That's what it's gonna be," you know. So once we got that, it kind of took us running. But why dumplings?
And financial planning. Yeah. So let's go into like the why first. I think quite important why I pick DumplingDudez. So the first thing is that I was very miserable. I was dealing with depression and anxiety, and I didn't know I had depression. I didn't have anxiety until I see all the symptoms and especially got help later. So I want to find joy in life again. So we look back in our life to figure out what brings us joy, and it's always about cooking with people, having a new experience with people, creating something with people. So we love making dumpling. It's always the first time our friends met each other is from a dumpling making party. First time he met my family is a dumpling making party. So we just love the whole how it make us feel. So I had this concept that if I can bring joy to other people, maybe I'll be able to find joy in life again. So that kind of started our journey for the last 5 years. So with that, the financial planning is not easy. I think we want to make sure we can have a runway for at least 1 or 2 years, and then look at our lifestyle and figure out what to cut, because obviously we used to have 2 six-figure income that will go down to almost zero. So we got to figure out what's our basic money we need to have to survive, and then we make a decision whether we have to pay off all his student loans. So we don't have any all those debt to worry about. And then just experimenting with our new lifestyle, less a really smaller lifestyle, and then stop building the brand before we actually decide to quit our job and then start our own business.
Gotcha. So this is going to air, as I said, in Pride Month. So happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
So let's talk a little bit about, maybe a little bit about your role plays. Do you believe in sort of the 2S LGBTQ plus identity into your business, both in terms of a community you serve, but also more importantly, the values that you promote? What do you think about that?
Let me go first. Yeah. So one of the reasons we decided to both quit our job because we don't feel like we could be ourselves. So from day one, we have no issue telling people this is a husband-owned company.
Actually, we're pretty adamant about that. That was the first thing we were like, we are going to do this. We're going to say this. We are going to be us.
Right. And then, of course, some people get really turned off by that. There's like, oh, why are you mentioning that you have a business for your husband? You're just making food. Why does it matter? I said, well, if a husband and wife can mention a mom and pop company, why can't we? So we very honest since the very beginning, and we want to give back since the day one too. So we work with a lot of different nonprofit organizations in Houston, bring awareness. We donate every June. We typically donate half of our net profit to like LGBTQ homeless youth. Wow. Sometimes LGBTQ senior center to bring awareness to people. But we just being very, very open. We always tell people, especially we do a lot of corporate events, that we are a LGBTQ owned company. Sometimes that will turn negative. People say, oh no, we don't want to hire you guys. But that's fine because we want people to support us to work with us. So it's just visibility and honesty is very important to us being the LGBTQ community.
And the main thing about the dumplings being colorful wasn't really about being LGBTQ at all. It was really more about allowing people to tell stories through their food, right? We wanted people to be able to share and to create and to take pride in what they were making. And I think that to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace, we actually used the rainbow colors. It just so happens to be that we're gay, so it just happened that way. Beautifully, I think, but it wasn't set out to make it rainbow just because, that we our story just because, of course, but our products were more about bringing people together, sharing food, telling stories, and creating community.
That's amazing. Great story, guys. Great story. So thinking about, I know you do these workshops, which I don't know, maybe I need to get down to Houston. What were some of your most memorable moments or experiences you've had with some of those dumpling making workshops?
Oh, now that's a great question.
We have a couple.
Yeah,
so we have a proposal here that was super exciting. This guy proposed to his wife. We make it a surprise party. That was our first I was so nervous. I feel like I was so nervous than the guy because everything gotta be timed. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and then we do a lot of celebrations for events, right? So we have the team building event, we have birthday, we have anniversary. It's always amazing moments that we share with people. So I think it's being included in those intimate moments with the friendship and the family that make it very, very wonderful for us.
Yes. Yeah, I think one of my favorite moments, I mean, all of those are all my favorite moments. In the beginning, that honeymoon period of the business, you're making so many friends. But when we got into like sticky situations during the pandemic and we couldn't meet, and then we got on Zoom, right? And all of a sudden now we're on Zoom meeting with people doing across the country, and we're getting to meet their families, right? Not just the person that's showing up to the event. Now we're meeting their families. We're connecting with people all over. And so for that, some of those memories are really, really magical too, because we're connecting families from across the US as well. And then also corporate team building events and things like that. And so we're getting to meet people's families that way too. And I think just meeting people and getting to hear their stories and them being so interested in our story. And then they're like, oh, I want to do this too. I want to quit my job. I want to do all these things, And so getting to really meet all those people and connect and realize we're not the only ones out here trying to do this crazy thing called life and together, there's a lot of people that really want to do it. And so I think that was really magical to find that community, that tribe almost,
And then I have one more. So we, at our own company we were in back then, they didn't really celebrate any kind of diversity inclusion events. They don't celebrate Pride Month, Women's Month, Black History Month, or anything like that. So it's when we start working with corporation and see all these other company they do, and then the employee looks so much happier because they feel safe. Number one, I think the most, they feel safe, they feel seen. So definitely gave me a lot of hope. I'm like, wow, I just because I had a bad experience, there are all these amazing other amazing companies out there.
Yeah.
They do share, they do care, they do want to provide a safe place for people. So that was very, very such a warm feeling for me when we see all that stuff happen.
And then one more for me too as well. We did an in-person for my alma mater, and that was really fun. For one of the schools at my alma mater, it was the arts group, and so that was a lot of fun. I think that was one of my favorite ones to do as well.
That's awesome. Wow, so much impact and so much creativity and human emotions and feelings. Like, it's awesome what you're all involved in. And I have to ask, because you just touched upon it too, like, you know, about other people and thinking about their jobs and their purpose and what they want to do. And I think there's a lot, I know the pandemic has done a lot of things for mindsets and conversations and other things that have been made jump started as a result of some of that. But when I talk to a lot of people and I talk to a lot of talent in my role and in what I do with helping people find their career, their ideal opportunities, taking that step to, in this case, leave corporate life behind and start this venture together. There's a lot of people that think about it, but to actually do it is sometimes daunting, right? And I'm sure there's listeners here who have an entrepreneurial spirit, have an idea they want to do. They might even be a young student who their parents are saying, well, nope, you got to be successful in corporate world. You got to work in the corporate place. That's where you're going to make your money. That's where you're going to make. And yes, maybe. Yes, that's true. But there's so many other avenues you can take. So what did it feel like for you both to leave that corporate life behind and to start this venture?
Very scary.
Freedom. I just felt freedom.
Really?
That's
For me, it's very scary. Like I don't think if you just wait to start until you're not scared anymore, you will never start something brand new.
Great insight. Great insight.
Yeah. So I think just use that emotion to kind of fuel you. It's very scary. That means there's something there. Something you're scary to do. That means something there, and then just get uncomfortable. It's totally normal, but just do it, because that I'm not ready feeling will always be there. You could be 5 years into the business, you still feel like I'm not ready for everything that you do. So the uncertainty will always be there. So just the earlier you can pull the trigger, the better.
But I think about what advice I'll give myself as like a younger person about would I go and try and do an entrepreneurial job earlier, or would I wait and go into industry sooner instead of, doing like a craft job first, or anything that I did in my life? How would I do it differently? And I look and I can take pieces from each of those experiences and add them to this entrepreneurial journey, which I think is a great mindset to have. If you need to go into a business to make money to support a passion, do that. I mean, absolutely. I went into engineering later. I should have done engineering earlier. I would have had a bigger bankroll to start whatever I wanted to start, right? I mean, so maybe that's what I would have done a little bit sooner. But I think it takes what it takes to get to that point. But yeah, there is a point where you do have to rip the Band-Aid off. You do have to take the jump and trust your gut. And I think that's the most thing, is don't pigeonhole yourself, trust your gut, do what you need to do to make some money, but follow that passion, keep it going. And I think, a little bit done every day on it will become something bigger and bigger and greater. And that's really what I think I would encourage younger folks to do. Make some money, but start to build that plan for something else. Always have that going. We don't just have to do one thing in this life.
Keep your eye on that passion for sure. And to your point, Michael, these other experiences you had, sometimes we use words like transferable skills and people are trying to figure out what does that actually mean. Well, in your case, from previous roles and experience, I'm maybe what were some of the skills that you use now that you've
learned? So I think from like working in home remodeling construction, I'm not afraid to get in and fix things and build things. And so working with my hands, it gave me that confidence to do that. So I think everyone should definitely have at least one craft job in their life, just to, so they have that ability. As an engineer, I worked in design, so I worked with a lot of vendors, working on quotes, worked with a lot of people from around the world. And so that gave me a lot of insight to how people operate, especially when working with different cultures. And so that's something that we as Americans, we don't get a lot. And so we're getting more and more these days with the world being so flat with technology. I think that's super important to have those skills as well. So those soft skills, working with people, and then also just finishing out projects and project planning. So all of that stuff really, really helped me through this.
That makes sense. And Chih, you have experiences in marketing strategy and communications.
Right.
How has that informed your approach to, further building the brand for the Dumpling Dudes?
I think that's what gave me the confidence to kind of quit my job to start the business. Because if I can make something very technical product that's really more of like a business to business type of product, look sexy and fun, dumpling will be so much more easier to do, like it's probably have a bigger audience, more creative. So all the basic knowledge you have, such as like SEO strategy and all that, that definitely came in handy when we started the business. But also a lot of stuff I didn't get to do back then. There's like a list of stuff always got rejected by the leadership. We use all that in creating dumpling too. Yeah, for example, they don't like vulnerability. Okay. They think when you talk about the product, you got to talk about, wow, we just created this brand new product. We have no struggle. Engineering just figure it out right away. And then all the trial tests are successful. This is why it's the most amazing product. And it's like so not true. So when we start the business, we share vulnerability. We share when we fail. We share when something didn't work. We had the event, only one person signed up. We're like 3 months into the business. So we told people that. Like, I think vulnerability is such an important thing to share as a brand and as a business.
I'm so glad you hit upon that. Sorry I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
The vulnerability, I love that you shared that. I think I've talked to some leaders recently who said, boy, I wish I was more vulnerable when I was younger and didn't act like I knew everything was going on and I could have worked. And it creates so much more respect and opportunity for learning and realizing that we all don't come into this world knowing everything, right? That's why you build what you do. So thank you for sharing that. And sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Oh, that's what I say. I think if we weren't as vulnerable in the beginning with our product when the pandemic hit, I don't think that Houston would have showed up and showed out the way they did. We told our story and we made so many connections with people that we actually went from dumpling making events to selling frozen dumplings pretty much anywhere we could, through 2020. And Houston showed up and they came and they bought dumplings and we got to work with breweries and did like virtual events. So being that authentic self brings those partnerships that really last. Like we have fast friends now, not just people we've worked with. I think that's the ticket for vulnerability right there.
That's such a lovely story. And thinking about some of the folks that might be listening now who are coming into the summer and they're going into their first internship. I saw that you had an internship, Michael, in your background. And how did that integrate into your overall learning? And would you recommend people seek out internships when they're in school?
So I can speak from the engineering part about internships, and that's really paramount to a good resume, I think. In industry, I also did recruiting for our company, and so I would go back to my alma mater quite a bit and help them with resume building, and then also with the interviewing and things. Looking at resumes, a 4.0 is great for theoretical understanding of all the knowledge you need, but that practical application, you learn so much on the job that you don't learn in college. And that's super important. So we really look for that over a 4.0 most of the time. So in my degree plan, that's how we approached it. And I recommend that to anybody. Because you're going to know if you like it or not once you get there, right? And then once you do, you can come back and then it kind of gives you more pep for your learning and for school. So I think it's really important. It helps build confidence in what you're already learning and then gives you excitement about more stuff to learn.
Absolutely.
I would add to that, if you really do love your degree, definitely try out a couple different jobs to see if you like it. One thing I didn't consider back as an engineer, I didn't consider the type of job and the places you'll be working at. True. Right? So definitely look at, because like I used to be a mechanical engineer. If I got into one industry, it could be this certain type of location, another could be another certain location. So don't just like pick something based on the pay. Pick something also, experiment something based on the potential environment you will be living in, because that make a huge difference that I didn't even think about when I was
that's not something we talk about in high school or anything, right? Thinking about the environment.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Wow. Super insightful. And thank you both for sharing that, because I agree. I think having that work integrated learning experience and having that ability to test it out, so much different than the classroom. And if you can get that opportunity, it helps. Like you said, I mean, credentials is one thing, like, the grade point average, but that doesn't always indicate success in the environment that you're going to be working in, right? So thank you for sharing that. Chih, a big part of, I think, identifying with a brand or identifying with something that makes you feel is incorporating storytelling. How do you incorporate storytelling into your business?
love storytelling. I didn't used to like it. I used to hate writing. That's why I picked engineering, as a degree. And then later on in life, I started figuring out, wow, my creativity needed an outlet. That's when I got into marketing, and I discovered storytelling is very emotion. I think when you want to connect with somebody or when you listen to a great leader, that's because you feel something whenever they talk about the topic or their view or their background. So it's such a great way to communicate with other people. Everybody tells story all day if they don't think they are a storyteller. Even when people think they make a logical decision. Oh, I compare the spec, and then like I do, when I go car shopping, compare the spec and look at this and that, decide to buy this. That's still an emotional decision. So I think storytelling is very, very powerful. And then the way to for me to do it is just being authentic, not afraid to show your emotion in the story, and not afraid to share the good and the bad. Be yourself, but it is a practice. It is quite hard to do at the very beginning, but you get more comfortable with it as time goes.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, so many questions I want to ask you. It's like, thinking about listeners who back to maybe wanting to start their own business, particularly maybe in the culinary or an experiential industry where they can kind of test things out. Any advice to? I think I heard, don't wait. That was one piece of advice, right? Like, don't wait, pull the trigger, do it. Any other advice you'd like to give to anybody around considering starting their own business?
Yes. Interview people. Interview those that are already in that spot that you want to work in. That's one of the things that we did early on too. We started talking with folks that like worked in commercial kitchens and own commercial kitchens. How does that work for you? Does it feel good to work there? I had worked in kitchens, and so I understood what the requirement was physically, products wise. But she had never done it before, so it was a little bit overwhelming for him in the beginning. And so I think interviewing those folks to understand what the requirements are, and just how they do it, and how they feel about it, and things like that. The more knowledge that you have and the more people that you talk to, you're going to find a lot of support out there in the entrepreneurial world. At least we have. And so that's been our experience. And so I think that, again, taking that vulnerability and talking about, I really want to do this. I got a passion. How did you get started? Kind of like what you're doing, just finding information and talking to people is the biggest way to do it. You're not alone out there in this world of entrepreneurship, even though it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
There is a big community out there, the people who want to support.
And start building your brain, and then because right now it's so easy with so many social different media. Building your brain and talk about why you love to be in this space. Maybe it's the food, maybe it's the recipe, maybe it's the fresh ingredient. Talk about your why. It is so important because that's how you connect with people in the very, very beginning. And also get you comfortable to talk in front of the camera, in front of people, which is also very important because it's still very, very scary to get in front of the camera. I mean, interview is easy, but when I had to do a video just myself, that's like the hardest thing to do for me still. And I consider myself a storyteller. So it doesn't really get easier. You just get you have more courage with it.
Yeah. Get more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, no. And I love the why. That is definitely something that I think is at the crux of everything, right? Is definitely. Why, right?
If I can add on to his for just a moment.
Sure.
When we started before, so we say our Founders Day is April 1st of 2019. Our very first class was not until July 4th weekend, right? So we had several months of where we made dumplings at home with friends, and we put it on Instagram, and we just kept posting every day. Well, I say he did. He posted every day on Instagram about us just making dumplings, what it's like to make dumplings, how we felt, our story. And then we said, now we're going to teach a class. Is anybody interested in coming, kind of thing. And then, we started doing it that way. So there are avenues to test the water is what I'm trying to say about that. And so there are things to do while you're in a current situation to test out different avenues without actually having, clients or anything yet. And so there's a lot of ways out there to do that, to kind of test the product you want to use, test people and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Hey, I know we're getting close to the end, and I have so many other things, but I want to make sure we get to some of the important things that also you may want to share that I didn't ask you. But thinking about next steps for you, and I want to also give a good plug for you. So where can people find you? I heard Instagram, but where can people find you and maybe come to your place and all that stuff? So could you share a little bit about where are you on social media and some of those things?
So this is the first time we share this announcement. I feel like this is a
Oh,
great
I feel
platform
This is a
special.
big announcement.
big announcement to share. So definitely follow us on Instagram, Facebook,
Dumpling Dudes with a
LinkedIn,
Z. Yep.
Dumpling
Dumpling Dudes with a
Dudes with
Z.
a
Yep.
With a
Z on
Z.
the
Or in
website.
Canada, we say a Z.
Zed, exactly. Zed. Yep.
So we are in the process of pivoting our business and then trying to figure out what the next step is. And then so we are coming up with other new products and experience outside of dumpling. Now we are at a space that my concept is still the same. If I can bring joy to other people, can we find joy in our life? And we have. And now I feel like I have, especially me, I have healed myself enough. I'm in a happier place. And thanks to Mike too. We want to explore other experiences out there that can also bring people joy. So we're working on book, we're working on maybe like a game or anything like that. So we are working on a few ideas that's going to come out probably later on this year, and then pivot Dumpling Do into a little bit more variety in the future.
I love that.
Right. So the lead in for this is what dumplings has taught us, right? Is really what it's about. It's taught us mindfulness, right? It's taught us storytelling. It's taught us how to connect with folks that we may not know. It's taught us all about cultures, food, all that kind of stuff. And so we really want to take what we've learned over the past 5 years with that and talk about that experience more and talk about the creation, talk about the inception, talk about all of that stuff.
How to start your own business.
How to go through a pandemic, you know, all those good things and come out with some more products and being mindfully led. And that's really what it's about. I'm a yoga teacher now. We want to help folks with that as well too. And so getting into that mind space, there's a lot of different avenues we want to go down with that idea. Yeah.
Well, I feel like super blessed and special for you to share that announcement here live on the podcast. And I'm so happy for you both. Like that's so encouraging. And I can't wait to see where it goes with where you're headed. And wow, this has been such an inspiring conversation. And I just got like getting to know both of you through this conversation is just, it's so wonderful. It's just such a great walking away with the energy and the positivity of this conversation, as I hope our listeners are as well. I guess one quick thing is there something that maybe I didn't touch upon that you wanted to share with the listeners before we do close?
I would love to touch on one thing. And it was kind of your lead in there about all the positivity. It's taken a lot of work for us to turn that around to where we were 5 years ago, for sure. Yeah. We had to relearn each other. I'm gonna get a little emotional. We had to relearn each other a little bit.
Yeah.
We did go through some ups and downs, which is life in general. But the main thing for us is we wanted to keep us as the center of our lives. And so that's what is the most important thing for us. So whether the business stays alive or not, we are the most important things in each other's lives, and we want to keep each other going. So.
And the other thing I will add to that is, especially for your audience, right? You're going to start working an internship, working for a company. And I understand where I've been trained for decades to focus on ROI. Everything you do is about return on investment. And then I got stuck with that when we first started. It's like we're still with that corporate mindset. I gotta do 10% more this month because the revenue gotta do this, the cash flow gotta do this. Yeah. But eventually you gotta look at we call it the ROH, the return on happiness. Just because something that make you money, something that give you stable income, does that really bring you happiness? So as you go through life, look at the return on happiness on everything that you do. And then you probably will start realizing that's just as important as ROI because you really only live once. So you have money, but you're miserable, and then you still won't be happy where you are. So ROH, a lot of time, many cases, is a lot more important than ROI.
Wow. Thank you both for the gift of this conversation. And honestly, I'm touched, and some of the things you just said, the final thoughts here, so meaningful and so inspiring. And at that ROH, wow, what a great way to really think about things. And I know our listeners are gonna just have so much to glean from this conversation and walk away with. But again, I want to thank both of you for being a part of the conversation, being a part of Coffee with Convery, and also being a part of a great episode to air during Pride. And happy Pride to you both. And thank you so much for being a part of the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing this too, and for helping us to have a voice. Thank you.
And happy
Awesome.
Pride.
Happy
Yes.
Pride. So to our audience, if you liked what you heard today, please share this episode on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And you can also follow all of the episodes on Instagram with Coffee with Convery. And until next time, please stay well.